Quack.
Hello, since I'm unable to speak English correctly without sounding French, I'm not French by the way. Anyway, instead of making this review in French, I decided to use some AI voice. In other words, I have to type every nonsensical word I spoke, which is fucking annoying as asking to press the subscribe button. Back to the main subject, I waited nearly 7 years for this game, kinda I think. Well, a lot of years. Freedom Planet 1 is my favorite platformer of all time. I have around 500 hours of playtime on it, since I was seriously speedrunning it, so no wonder why I was waiting for the sequel like what? I don't know. All I know is that the game is finally out after a very damn long wait. Was all that waiting worth? I mean yes, since in the meantime there was so many good game to play. By the way, did you know that FFXIV have a free trial? Well, back to the primary question, was the wait worth? Well, this is more complicated, you see. I really enjoyed Freedom Planet 2. I finished the story mode in one go in 12 hours straight with one character, and I plan to get back in this game. But at the same time I had some mixed feelings. You see, the issue is, Freedom Planet 2 kinda fixed everything that was wrong with Planet 1, but at the same time the things that were rights with Planet 1 ended up being wrong in the sequel. I will get more into it later. Anyway, I do like to structure my reviews by segments. Well, I do a review once every 127 years. So accept it to be shit. If I have something I want to say, I will say it. Like I didn't like Elden Ring, and Stranger of Paradise is a better game than Elden Ring. See, I'm talented at spreading nonsensical unrelated shit. This review will be spoiler-free when it come to the story elements, however when it come to the characters it won't be. There's some important element and I need to mention some of the characters that appear in game. I will start with the thing I'm not good talking about. The story. Well, you see, the story was something that was kinda pissing me off with the first game. It was not interesting to follow, and on top of that it was cringe. So when I recently started my playthrough of the sequel, I was already a bit leery, and oh boy, I was wrong. They corrected everything that was wrong with the story of the first game. Say goodbye to the cringe. Well, there's some very minor cringe, but nothing that made me skip a cutscene. The humor is good without feeling forced. The voice actor did a great job and improved a lot since the previous game. And if you wonder, yes, the game got a classic mode, but you will need to finish the story first. And trust me, this time the story is worth it. Now let's be clear, no, the story is not a masterpiece. I can even say it's quite poor and very simple, but it was good to follow and I really enjoyed the moment. Now remember when I said that Planet 2 fixed almost everything that was wrong with Planet 1, but what was right with Planet 1 was made wrong here. Well, still related to the story, I will do a parenthesis about the main antagonist of the games. And oh dear, they are bad. How bad, you may ask? Yes. First, one of the main villain from Planet 1 is coming back, which is Serpentine. He got a very secondary role in this game, but trust me, he is by far the most interesting one. I really liked him. He is still the same as the first game with just more writing, and I didn't like him much in the first game, so do the maths. The new cast of antagonist is either dull, or just plain annoying. They have a charisma equal to Shrek Green PP. The main villain was at least decent. I mean, his writing was way more polished than Brevin. Wait a sec. I already forgot what was the name of the main antagonist for Planet 2. See how much of an impact it left to me. I finished the game around 2 hours ago. This is truly impressive indeed. See, Brevin was simple, but I loved this villain. It was a very classic one, but a good one. His writing was simple, but clear and to the point, perfectly matching the character, being perfectly on par with his role. And this is something you won't find with the main antagonist of the sequel, sadly. Giving more depth to a villain doesn't make it better, and for me I think Brevin had more depth than the new one. More lines of text doesn't mean better development. Now you may ask, is Brevin back? Well, cover your ears if you fear spoilers. The spoiler will end when the Planet 1 video clip is gone. Even if they did mention of Brevin's several time in the story, this is with the highest amount of disappointment that I will say, no, Brevin is not coming back and my day is ruined. End of spoilers. Yes, the story was interesting to follow like I said, but the terrible new cast of antagonist was kinda hard to digest. For the main cast of characters and side characters, there's a clear improvement compared to the first game. I don't have much to say about it, except then, big improve. Into the next point now. See, I'm an audio nerd with 5 pairs of headset around, and one of the most important element in a video game for me is the music. Freedom Planet 1 soundtrack was crazy good. This game had many memorable tracks. Well, you see, Planet 2 soundtrack is as good as the first one, but did I liked it the same? Well, no, Planet 2 soundtrack didn't impact me like the first one did. Planet 1 soundtrack was a bit simpler, but it was synergizing more smoothly with the overall tone of the game. When I was playing Planet 2, the soundtrack was feeling a bit, I don't know how to describe it properly, but away from what I accepted. I don't mean the soundtrack is bad, like I said, it's as good as the first game, but there's something with, and this is why I liked the music of the first game slightly more. Still, I think this game have more good tracks than the first one. But none of those tracks was reaching the level of Battle Glacier or Final Dreadnought. Now when it come to the general audio, Planet 2 is a net improvement compared to the first one. The overall audio quality is more clear and got more space. The quality of the voice recording massively improved, and comparing it to the first game is unfair. For the sound effects, well, it's improved, yes, but far from perfect. By default, most sound effects are a bit too loud, so tune it down in the option to 90 or 80%. The sound balance is, however, kinda off. Some voice are way too quiet. Well, this is only with one character, Nira. It's nowhere as unbalanced as Death's Gambit, my favorite Metroidvania of all time, by the way. But the audio balance issue is easily fixable with a patch, and not much work need to be done. So, is the overall audio good? Like I said, yes, but the balance needs some work. Let's dive into the gameplay now. Well, Freedom Planet 1 gameplay was stellar. It was smooth and incredibly intuitive. Well, this is the same for Planet 2. I only played the game with Lilac, since she was my main in the first game, and I never liked the other character that much, so my feedback is based around her. And yes, I tested the 3 other characters in the first level. Yes, they improved a lot and are more interesting to play than they were in the first game. Except for the new one, who is a bit, I don't know, disappointing maybe. However, one downside I had for at least 3 to 4 hours, the gameplay, at least with Lilac, was feeling a bit floaty. I don't recall if this was a thing with the first game, since the last time I played it was in 2017. Anyway, that floaty feeling was totally gone after a moment, so this issue was certainly on my side. Now there's a very big fault with the gameplay, but when it come to it, I need to talk about the next point first, and it will make sense once I will do the clarification. When it come to the difficulty, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag here. See, the first game was very well balanced, when it was either the levels or the boss fight. The difficulty balance for the second game is, for me, clearly not as balanced as the first game. Sometime the difficulty spike was a bit too much, making the overall balance, well, you see, not balanced. Especially against some bosses, but the difficulty was not fully coming from the boss fight itself, but from one, or if not the biggest fault of this game. Controller support is also a part of the gameplay, and you see, I'm the kind of degenerate who use one type of controller for 1 or 2 game, like I use the Switch Pro controller for FF14 and Monster Hunter, the PS5 controller for 3D generic, the PS1 classic controller for some 2D fighters and platformers. And apparently people had real issue with it. I think this is more of a personal issue. The controller configuration menu needs some rework for sure. I started the game with a PS5 controller. One of the most uncomfortable controller ever made for long play session. I had to remap the button, especially the D-pad. After a while I decided to switch to my old PS1 USB controller. Most Steam game have a lot of issue with it, but it worked perfectly with Planet 2. Kinda weird, since many people have many issue with modern hardware, and I had none using a nearly 30 years old controller. We also get some of world map. It's a good aesthetic decision, but a bad practical decision. The map is more of a chore than anything else, especially with the new potion/talisman system they added. If you want to buy something, you will have to backtrack all the way back to the store. And the world map is not a straight line. Finding back an area can get truly annoying. Now for the last point of my review, the graphics. By graphics I mean the overall look, the level design, the character works, etc. To put it simple, this game holds one of the best, if not the best pixel art graphic I have ever witnessed in any game before, not the finest but the most aesthetically impressive. They truly did an impressive job, and the 7 years of work was not a joke. Even if I didn't like some of the level visually, especially the city levels, the work they did with the outside level was truly a work of art. But the most impressive was certainly the work done on the character, and good lord, they polished it to some impressive level. Not only the pixel art on the character was done in an insanely good way, but they are very well animated. They put an insane amount of effort in it, and this is clearly visible. Also, if you wonder, pixel art need way more work and time than classic 3D, it's also very expensive. This is why you rarely see AAA game with such style of graphics nowadays. And this is why it's so impressive coming from a small independent company. Now there's one very big issue with this game, and by far the biggest one I had. Remember when I was talking about the gameplay and his biggest fault? This is in fact related to the graphic of the game. See, they kinda went overkill with the effects. And things can get messy. Messy to the point of, I can't see shit, what the fuck is happening? Help, my penis is stuck in my computer case. Not counting that I was getting serious motion sickness, especially against a very late game boss. This is not okay. I swear, I did beat some bosses by not understanding what was happening, because almost everything was cluttered with visual effect, and this was for me the biggest fault of the game. Now when it come to the level design, yes, it's good. At least for most of the levels, the game got some interesting gimmick in some levels and most was enjoyable. I still think that Planet 1 had a better overall level design for most of the levels. They went a bit crazy with the size of some of the level in Planet 2, and I think it's affecting the overall quality. However, some levels were kinda on the I'm losing patience side of things, because they were way too long. If you don't understand what I mean by it, you can kinda compare it to the Knuckles level from Sonic Adventure 2. But don't worry, they aren't sluggish. It's just that I had that feeling. And this truly made me wonder how it will go for the speedrun, since Planet 1 was a perfect game for speedrunning. In that domain, Planet 2 will be insanely more difficult to craft. The game is totally worth his current price, and there's no need to wait for a sale if you are looking for a solid platformer. I probably forgot to speak about a lot of things, but I'm going to end up this review here with a quick summary. Yes, Freedom Planet 2 is an awesome game. I had a lot of fun with it and I truly enjoyed the game. I still don't know if I liked the first one more. One thing that is sure, there was many element of the first game that I enjoyed more. The game is totally worth his current price, and there's no need to wait for a sale if you are looking for a solid platformer.